Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of
the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast.
And here's your host, Jana, and her big brother, Jeff. Welcome to the All-Star Break edition of the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Here to talk about the All-Star Week, which was Homerun Derby, the game, and of course, touch on the draft a little bit because we talked a lot about it last week. We want to just kind of throw out some Gee Whiz numbers. Also some Gee Whiz numbers about the All-Star Game. We'll talk about all of that stuff. A little housekeeping before we get in a programming note. First off, find us on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
And on Instagram and Facebook at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
And then, of course, you can catch us on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Check on the Fanatics links, and you can get some of those snazzy All-Star jerseys or the hats. And we'll probably talk a little more about that when we get into talking about the All-Star Game. So we're going to do that this week. We'll kind of wrap up the Dodgers first half, the Angels first half, and maybe a couple little notes here and there when we look around baseball before we head out for a week off. That is our programming note. Next week, you will be able to go back and, pick whichever ones you want to listen to or ones you haven't listened to for a best of week. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, you can just pick and choose.
That's right. Your choice. We recommend maybe episode 4, and that was like mythical creatures and legends. Once again, you're doing your fashion segment about the Rangers, and that was a pretty decent episode. So check that out, or any of them that you feel like you want to listen to, and then we'll be back the following week when there's a full slate of games, and we can get right back into the swing of it as we head towards the trade deadline. And we will touch a little bit on that today too. So let's get going to Seattle. Big happenings in Seattle. The Emerald City hosting the All-Star Game. I didn't even catch what number All-Star Game is this. Did it say? I don't know.
I have no idea. I just know the last time it happened in Seattle, the All-Star Game happened in Seattle was 2001, I believe. And before that, it was like 1970 something. So
well, the Mariners didn't become a team until 77.
Yeah, so 79, I think.
79. Maybe. So they got it 2 years after they're in the Kingdom.
I think so.
Well, one thing I got to say, I've seen a lot of games played because the Angels play the Mariners a lot. I've seen games on TV played there in at the Mariners Stadium at Kingdom 2, and it's built on the same site there. So, but I had never really seen the nice thing. I think the best part about ESPN's Homerun Derby coverage was they had a lot of great shots of the stadium.
Yes.
They didn't have to focus too much on what was going on in the field until guys were hitting. And it really looks like a really cool field. I'd like to go visit that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a nice park. I definitely want to make my way up there during baseball season to take in a game. But it's got to be a team that I can root. I have to root for the Mariners, so they have to be playing a team that I'm not that jazzed about.
Gotcha. So maybe the Asterix.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be perfect. Start planning that now.
All right. Which we got to talk about that too. We'll get to it when they did introductions at the All-Star Game. But first, now the first thing that really happens, you have the Futures game, which is on the Saturday before. There's a celebrity softball game. And honestly, I saw that for a second, but I didn't know who any of the celebrities were.
Yeah, I didn't either. I saw like some tweets about it, and I'm like, I don't even know who that is. So does it even, is that really celebrity in quotes? I don't know.
Well, maybe it's folks that are from the Seattle area.
Maybe.
I mean, as far as like the celebrities, music, folks, there's always been a decent music scene there. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we know grunge came out of that, but Jimi Hendrix, Heart, and many others came out of Seattle.
True.
Before the grunge scene. But anyway, so I didn't really pay attention to that. On Sunday, round 1 of the draft started, and we'll get to that in a little bit later and kind of take a look at that. Who went based on what we talked about last week, maybe like about the top 5 picks or that, and then we'll talk about what the Angels and Dodgers did as far as their draft picks. But let's go to probably the highlight for most people. I know that a few of my friends who are baseball fans were all on about how their favorite part of the baseball season, at least the first part of it, is the Home Run Derby. And a few of them believe that this is now the best time for baseball. The second half is when things really start happening. So let's talk about the Home Run Derby. Normally it is the best part of since it started, of every All-Star game. And I watched some of it. I didn't get to watch all of it. But what were your thoughts?
It wasn't as exciting for me this year. I mean, there was something missing, and I don't know if it was usually there's a lot of music and it's just this kind of really fast and it just seemed to be, and then the guys, there's always the players that are there to help the other players, be their fans, this is what you need to do. And it just seemed kind of ho-hum to me or something. I mean, and it wasn't obvious. Julio Rodriguez hit 41, a record 41 home runs, but it just.
Right, in one round.
In one round, right. It just, I don't know. There was something about the energy. The energy seemed to be off. The players seemed to be kind of tired. I felt bad for Mookie Betts, who he said when he went in, he was out of his league. He goes, I don't know how to hit home runs on demand. That's not how I work. Right. So, yeah.
Even though he's tied for third
with
home runs, it's a whole different type of home runs. He's like,
yes.
He did mention that he's not a batting practice home run hitter.
No. So I don't know, this one, if I had to compare last year to this year, last year's was better. I think the the Dodgers have the best DJ in the majors, DJ Severe. And it just, I don't know, it just seemed off, maybe because Albert Pujols was in it last year. It was kind of exciting to see Adley Rutschman switch sides, and he probably should have just picked one side, because when he did switch sides, he just went off, and he could have potentially maybe went further. But I don't know. It wasn't as exciting as last year's.
No, that's for sure. There was a different vibe last year compared to this year. And you're right. It seemed like things could get pretty exciting after that, or during the 41, and then it didn't really. It wasn't sustainable, I guess.
Yeah.
He completely fizzed out in the next round. He went slower. I think they were tired, because when it got to a point in the next round where Julio was up against eventual champion Vladdy Jr., Vladdy Jr. even slowed down when he realized he only needed one more to go. He took a few pitches just to kind of chill out for a minute before he finally hit, the couple that he needed to beat Julio. But Julio was slower. He had the best pitcher.
Yes, he did. Out of everybody, I would say Pete Alonso too. He has been, the Derby winner, and this is what his fourth time.
Yeah, fourth or fifth
time competing, and this year he just looked. He didn't have the same energy that he normally does. He really gets hyped up. And he just didn't have it. And the other thing, like I mentioned, was they always have the other players, especially, your team, or, maybe you have friends, obviously, that you from other teams that come and hype you up. And they just didn't really have that.
There's just a couple of the guys that had that, but not really.
Yeah.
Not in the same ways. And now, Pete Alonso, I don't think it mattered that his pitcher was one that was a last second replacement, and he was pitching him outside. He was painting the corners.
Yeah.
He wasn't just throwing him down there in the spot. It's like, hey, put it right here. It was all over the place, and Pete had a hard time. For Pete to hit as many as he did, it was almost like being in a regular game the way his pitcher was throwing to him.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
it's cool that Adley Rutschman had his dad throwing to him. I think you had mentioned this when we were texting back and forth, that he probably could have gotten more if his dad would have just been the pitcher and not the fan and the dad, because he would watch to see where it would go. And it was like, no, you can't watch. You got to keep pitching.
Just got to keep throwing. That was the thing with Julio's that round. His guy had 4 balls in one hand and had one he was throwing, and it was just one after another. It was like a pitching machine. He wasn't, and he's just throwing them, boom, 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 and that's what made that happen. So yeah, it was still fun, but there was something. I think the biggest thing that happened that people were talking about was the kid that got hit in the head out there in the outfield by one of I don't remember who it was. I
think it was Vladdy Jr. Yeah, was one of his balls. And that kid just crumpled to the ground, and all the other kids just kind of backed away like, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I mean, I hope he's okay, because that was bad.
Yeah, he's probably all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Wins his first. It's been about 3 or 4 years since his last one. It's hard to believe he's been in the league that long already. And then he and his dad become the only father-son duo to win the Home Run Derby.
Yeah, so that was cool. I mean, there's history there. There's a lot of history made in this All-Star game and the Derby also. Just the Derby for me this year was not as exciting, but it was still it was fun to see Randy Arozarena. I thought he might be able to pull it out to get, I think what he needed 3 more home runs to get 26, and he got 23. But he was really entertaining. He's an entertaining guy, and so that was fun to have him in the Derby.
I think he made up for his Derby loss early in the All-Star game.
Yeah,
just ask Freddie Freeman.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Like I said, Vladdy Jr. wins that. So it takes us to Tuesday. And there's always, now that they started doing this, there's always one thing that comes out of this red carpet where they all walk in, they're all doing their last year. Jose Ramirez wearing a gold chain with a medallion. And on the medallion was a picture of him wearing a gold chain with a medallion. And Ronald Acuna Jr. did something similar this year. So I saw the pictures of.
Yes.
He came down the red carpet and had on a necklace that had a little figure of him.
Yes, a figure of him. And then his son was with him, and his son had a miniature version of that same chain of his dad. So, yeah, it was kind of, I don't know. You can see who really, they get played up, and then there's other guys that are like, yeah, I put on this shirt and this, like Will Smith. He was the perfect one. They ask, who are you wearing? And I think he knew, it was like, I don't know what it was, but like Armani suit. And he's holding his daughter, and he's like, and she's wearing a dress,
Yeah, he was. I saw that, he and his wife and his baby, and then he's wearing tennis shoes.
Yeah, I think most of them were.
I mean, they looked nice. The Freeman family.
Yes, always. I think nice.
Just like they were going to a wedding or something. It didn't really. They weren't. Nobody was overdone. Had his sons in the All-Star team, the Mariner kind of colors.
Yeah, yeah. That Mookie Betts, his family came out. His mom was with them. They kind of had a little color scheme going, but it was his daughter that was posing, and she just kind of stole the whole show. So,
and then JD Martinez and his wife, I guess that's his wife, they were just, also like it was just kind of going to a wedding or to a nice event. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, it's funny how some of the guys will take it to, the nth degree, and others are just like, yeah, and Michael Lorenzen, had his Vans on the mound and on the red carpet.
Nice. So one of the big themes throughout this week has been Shohei. And Stephen A. Smith went off on ESPN to the point about the Angels, and then also about Shohei, and said something to the effect of, I don't have the quote in front of me, but paraphrasing, he said that the Angels, nobody cares about you. You're irrelevant. I can't fight that. The reason that anybody pays attention to the Angels for many years now has been either Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, or both. But right now it's Shohei. And so he also said, how can Shohei be the face of baseball? He doesn't even speak English.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, and that doesn't really make sense, because there's a lot of, I think a lot of the ball players, he does speak English, but a lot of ball players, we have a lot of ball players speak Spanish, and they speak English, but they feel more comfortable when they're doing interviews in their native language, which makes sense. So that's just like a dumb comment that he would make.
He's good for some of those, and maybe it's just being provocative. Is that the right word?
Maybe.
To kind of, let me shake some things up and let's get a conversation going, which isn't bad when it comes to baseball. People don't talk that way about baseball. Even Colin Cowherd, who, if you listen to sports talk radio, he never talks baseball till postseason. And he's even stopped to talk about Ohtani. The crowd in Seattle was chanting, "Come to Seattle," or something to that effect.
Yeah. They were all in on it, and every player that was interviewed, all of them were asked about Ohtani. And in fact, I think it was Bill Shaken who wrote an article for the LA Times with, give us your, how would you get your pitch, right? How would you get Shohei? My favorite was the Pittsburgh Pirates, French fries on everything.
David Bednar, who I guess couldn't stop laughing about it. Oh, yeah, he's coming to Pittsburgh. Right. but yeah, we put French fries on everything. You know, there was different things. Freddie Freeman was asked. He's not. That's tampering. I'm not
Right.
going there. Which seems very Freddie-like. You know, Nick Castellanos, who we have something else we got to share about him a little bit later, but he said, I'm not going there, but whatever happens, he's going to be able to rule his world. He's in control of his own destiny. I hope he just does what's best for Shohei.
And Shohei was asked who impresses him. Which player impresses him? And his answer was Mookie Betts, because he plays the infield, he plays the outfield, he plays midfield, so maybe he feels kind of a similar, you know, kinship.
There seems to be a thing there. When I've seen them kind of, and he seemed even friendly, you know, like, and I know he's a nice guy, and like Freddie Freeman at first base and that, but there feels something, without saying he's going to go to the Dodgers. There just seemed to feel like a familiarity and a comfortableness there. So anyway, after all that.
Well, and let's say Shohei was the All-Star Game. I mean, people came to see him. Obviously, all of the other players, and I'm sure they know it, they were on the outer and he was in the middle, because you had people that had Shohei jerseys, signs, you know, and the whole crowd, you know, not the whole crowd, but the majority of the crowd, obviously being from Seattle area, you know, come to Seattle chanting, you know,
following Ichiro's footsteps, the greatest Japanese player to play in the major leagues before Shohei.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where I was going. Hey, Stephen A. Smith, look at this. You don't think he's relevant? Out of every player that was up being interviewed, everything stopped when Shohei was at the desk for his time, and everybody crowded around. Other players, there were folks off talking to other players, trying to do different things, but when his time came up, the world stopped.
Well, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was during the Homerun Derby, and it might have been Randy Arozarena. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and fact check this, but I know it was one of the players who was participating in the Homerun Derby, and Shohei, you know, said, you know, hey, you know, kind of gave him a little bit of advice since he had been in it. And he was like, okay. And then it was like he realized, oh, wait, I'm talking to Shohei Ohtani. Can I get a selfie? You know? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about that, too, is when the guys are loose and having fun and the pictures and playing. I felt like during the Homerun Derby, we didn't bring it up then, but I told you Bo Bichette was the worst choice to go out there with a microphone.
Oh yeah, it was
JD
bad.
Martinez honestly wasn't much better.
Right.
But you know, go over there and just kind of stand around. It's like, no, interview them, be over the top. In the past, we've seen that where they come out there and like they're actually auditioning for their job at MLB Network or ESPN or whatever. You know.
Yeah, not Bo Bichette.
It could have been fun. Bo Bichette just been a great player, but yeah. The All-Star Game was different.
Yeah, I think in the past, for me, it always seemed like it was kind of like a celebrity softball game with actual celebrities. But this year, it seemed like it was really an actual real game. There was
a little more competitive, yeah.
More competitive, really good plays, great catches right off the bat from Adolis Garcia, Randy Arozarena, good pitching. So
yeah, it was. We were talking about Ohtani. So Ohtani did not pitch in this game, even though he was selected as a pitcher. He did hit though, or did come to the plate. He walked once, struck out the other time, and then he was was out of the game. And that was it for him. Carlos Estevez, the other Angel in there, pitched 1 inning and struck out 2 onto a 3-up, 3-down inning. So yeah, lots of good things. Big thing is the losing streak is over for the National League. 9 years of losing. Now, it's only fair that they went through that because from like 72 to 82, the National League won 11 straight All-Star games.
That's true. Yeah.
So, it's that. A weird fact, the last time the National League won an All-Star game was in 2012. And the winning pitcher in that game, Matt Cain.
Yes, the San Francisco Giants. Yes.
And who won the All-Star game this year?
San Francisco Giant.
Camilo Duvall.
Yeah. So, 2012 to 2023, you got the two Giants on the mound. Luis Ariz he had 2 hits, didn't see very many pitches because he said he just wanted to get a hit. He just,
so usually, what was that? 2 pitches and 2 hits, I think.
Yes. Yep. Freddie Freeman was, he came up, I think he had a walk. He batted twice, but, and had
robbed.
He
got robbed.
Yes.
And then
I was going to say, that was one of my favorite, I think, moments of the game was having Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts mic'd up at the same time. Yeah. And listening to those two. And Mookie Betts playing a position that he's never played, starting in center field.
Yeah, that was crazy as well. So, yeah, they had 2 back-to-back catches right there in the first. And with the Adolis Garcia and then Randy Arozarena robbing Freddie. And then, there were some other plays in that. It was fun when who was on the mound, was pitching, and they had him mic'd up while he was pitching.
Oh, Nathan Eovaldi.
And Eovaldi, that's right. Nathan Eovaldi was there. So that part for these games, I like that. When they do it during regular games, no. But in these instances, it's fun for that.
Well, I like how Freddie Freeman, Mookie said, when I play second, he doesn't ever want to talk to me. And Freddie's like, well, that's because I'm nervous, close to the action. So I can't, but he goes, but you're out there by yourself. So you want to talk to everybody because it's like.
It's lonely.
It's lonely
out in right field. I think I read that. Yeah. I didn't get to see that part. I had the game on, but I was working. So it was silent and I was only catching a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get to see too much of that. I do know that an unlikely hero emerged from this game. And because every team has to have one player, this guy, not that he didn't deserve to be there, but that's probably why he gets there. And that's Elias Diaz.
Yeah, the catcher for the Colorado Rockies. This is his first All-Star game, 32 years old, he wasn't a starting catcher until up until like 2 years ago. And he hits a go-ahead home run to put the national team up 3-2. So, and he was sweating it. And, he's covering his eyes.
They kept putting one of his, I didn't notice which of his teammates it was, but kept covering his face with their hat because they knew, and we'll talk about that in a second because we had a familiar battery at the end of that game for the National League, trying to close out the American League and hold that. 2 Diaz's first time in All-Star history went yard. Yandy from Tampa Bay, who was a starting first baseman, took one out of the park. And then, of course, Elias Diaz did it as well.
Yeah. And JD Martinez, he had 2 hits, and he became the first Dodger since Mike Piazza to have a multi-hit game in an All-Star game since 1996. Only 10 Dodgers have had 2 or more hits in the All-Star game. Steve Garvey did it 3 times. And Will Smith had the only stolen base of the game, and he knew who to do it against because Kenley Jansen was on the mound.
Right. As soon as I saw that, I thought, yep, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, he's familiar. Kenley doesn't care about the runners. He said as much, and Will took off.
Will took advantage of it, and he got that. Also, going back to Elias, who was the All-Star Game MVP, becomes the 6th catcher to win the award. Gary Carter did it a couple times back in the 80s. The last one, Mike Piazza, who, former Dodger, and Brian McCann was the last one to get that honor. And then he also became only the 6th player in All-Star Game history to hit a go-ahead homer while trailing in the 8th or later.
And he's the first Colorado Rockies to win the MVP. So 26 of the 30 teams have now had a player win the All-Star Game MVP since they started the award in 1962. The teams that are still looking for that MVP are the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks, the Tigers, and the White Sox. So maybe something to aspire to if you're from one of those teams. That should be your goal.
That's your goal. We're not going to win anything, but maybe I can be the MVP of the All-Star Game.
Exactly.
That's not a bad.
Oh, and I didn't realize that they give out All-Star Game rings.
Really? To the winning team or to everybody?
No, to everybody on the red carpet. They kind of look like class rings is what they look like.
All-Star.
But All-Star color was green, or that emerald green, and it, I think had like All-Star, probably had engraved. But I didn't realize, and because they were asking them, what's your jewelry, whatever, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I have an All-Star ring on. And I was like, I didn't even know that they gave those out as part of the swag. So
Clayton's got one for every finger now.
Yes.
And a thumbs.
Yeah.
And then the big thing, I think we talked about Camilo Doval being the winning pitcher because he was the pitcher of record when the home run was hit by Diaz. He got to face hometown hero Julio Rodriguez in a spot where Julio could have changed the game. And had he got a hold of one, he probably would have knocked it out of the stadium. By the way that he was swinging, I did see that one, and it was a pretty tight at bat. But Camilo Doval strikes out, and the crowd was just losing their minds the whole time Julio was up, and then nothing. He was done.
He was done, but Doval was throwing 100+.
Right. So it looks like they're going to hold on. They're going to win. And then we get to the 9th inning, and Rob Thompson, manager, the NL manager, also the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, he goes and puts in his closer to finish everything up. Now, when we said it was a familiar battery last year, we dealt with this, and honestly, it started to look like maybe he was falling back to old habits as he pitched to Will Smith, because Will Smith finished up the game behind the plate for the National League. And Craig Kimbrell, who has been, back to form this year for the Phillies, in there to close everything up, and he made it a little exciting.
Yeah, just a little, and the crowd was on their feet. But it almost seemed like, really, come on, are you going back to your ways, the way you pitched before? Have you not turned that corner? And he kind of even thought, he kind of had that look like, oh, come on, I got to get through this big moment. Yeah, there were. It was a tight. There were 2-out situation, and I think he had walked Julio Rodriguez.
He walked 2. I'm trying to remember
Walked
who else.
2, right? I don't remember if it was, but I know he walked Julio. And so it was first and second, 2 outs. AL is threatening, and it just was like, can you throw a strike? Can you just get this strike? And he did. He was able to get who was that? Jose Ramirez to strike out, and the National League wins finally.
Kyle Tucker.
It was Kyle Tucker. That's okay, right? Yeah, but even Rob Thompson had that look of like, oh man,
He did. He was like sweating it. He really was like, what was I thinking?
What did I do?
And even the announcers started kind of saying, hey, I wonder if he's going to stay with him here. As that, I don't know who else if anybody hadn't played yet. I know they tried to keep it so that everybody gets about an inning,
right,
pitching wise and that. But yeah, and he had come in. Kimbrel came in and replaced Josh Hader.
Yeah, and maybe that's how he had it always worked up in his mind. They get through these, and because I think it would be tough to be the all-star manager because you have these guys, and obviously some of them will be there, but they can't all play because they're on the IL or they're limited in they just pitched, or whatever the situation may be, and so then you have to figure out, okay, I'm going to let this guy, or this is my starting lineup, and then we'll fill in, these different guys. So,
yeah, on most of them, it looks like everybody kind of got an inning. It does look like Jordan Romano was replaced, or replaced Ynier Cano, the Orioles closer, and then he pitched through to Will Smith. He pitched to Will Smith, and then Michael Lorenzen came in. So he just pitched to one. So maybe 2, it was like, hey, I want to pitch, but only one. They probably, some of the managers may have even said something to
Jordan Romano actually, when he was in the bullpen, had said that he was kind of feeling some lower back tightness.
Oh, right.
And
I
so
do remember that now.
He did come out. He did pitch, but Dusty Baker was like, I don't want to be the one that puts him on the IL, because he's important to his team.
Overall, it was compared to last year, it was better. Maybe not the greatest all-star game, but it really had some good moments. And Freddie Freeman giving Randy Arozarena a little hard time after robbing him of a hit and then getting a base hit. He told him something like, you can't rob one and then get one. You either one pick. Or the other.
That's right. And it was funny because when he got the hit, when Arozarena got the hit, and Freddie Freeman's mic'd up and he's like, gosh darn it. It's like,
right.
And so then Arozarena says, he says that to him and he's like, oh, sorry. You can hear him say sorry. He's like, okay, he said he's sorry. Everything's okay. So
we're good now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I liked, I enjoyed, and maybe too with Freddie and Mookie mic'd up and talking to Joe Davis, who is, the Dodgers announcer. It just kind of, the chemistry was all there. And we already know there's, the friendship between Mookie and Freddie, because even when I think at first Freddie couldn't hear. And so he's like, hey, Mook. And he's like, hey, Freddie, so it was fun. I think that was my favorite part.
Yeah. You see them in the dugout a lot together. Mm-hmm. So, and now the world got to see that. Anybody that was watching is that, why do you think the Dodgers are great? They have guys like that are connected when the team is loose and being together. That's when they play the best.
Right. When
they're laughing and joking together, when they're all tense and tight, that's when they don't play well.
But we did learn that Gavin Lux and Austin Barnes are messy people, and none of the all-stars that were Kershaw,
the Dodger all-stars,
Dodger all-stars, right? They were asked who, if they had to pick one of their teammates to live with, and both of them got no votes.
Yeah,
it was
kind of brutal.
It was.
I think the word dirty even came up.
Yeah.
Not just messy, and Lux, I think all of them kind of turned their nose up at him. And Barnes, Barnesy, as they say, you call him, was messy and dirty but Clayton loves him as his catcher. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. Behind the plate, he's great. Yeah. But not in the locker room, in the clubhouse. But yeah, so this game, it was fun, but it was a competitive, it was competitive, and it wasn't, like where in years past where guys have been on the base pads and then, let me take a selfie with you. Let me take, at home plate with the umpire, where it does have that celebrity softball feel. I will say I don't understand and why you would boo him. I mean, I've kind of had my own thoughts about Dusty Baker going to the Astros as the manager, but he's been there long enough now that he's back, I think, to being Dusty Baker. But he got booed, and he laughed when he came out. I think the other Astros also were, booed, but I just was like, why would you boo Dusty Baker? And
it's not even the right Astros.
Right.
Kyle Tucker wasn't there. Jordan Alvarez wasn't there.
No.
And then did Fromber, was he announced or because I know he didn't play, he was replaced?
I think he was announced, but I don't.
Well, I can see them booing him because he probably pitches as well against Seattle as he does against the Angels. So
yeah, and then there were some, on Twitter there were some. Did they boo the Dodgers? But I think Dodger fans are always like hypersensitive to that for some reason.
Somebody maybe said Mookie or something like that, and they heard boo.
Right. But
why are they booing Mookie?
Yeah, I think for the most part it was they gave everybody nice, applause. Obviously, Julio Rodriguez got the biggest, and Shohei Ohtani.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So one of the other big things that we talked about, we just did a quick overview of the draft. We talked about that. This is a big part of the weekend, and honestly, I have to say, this was the one I was able to be the first round anyway. And a little bit of the second round, I was able to get more into. And because I had read more about it this year, I was more into it. Mm-hmm. And as expected, 2 Tigers went 1 and 2 in the draft. That would be Paul Skenes went, as everybody expected, to Pittsburgh. And then Dylan Cruz, who probably would have been the number 1 player if he hadn't already made clear, I'm not going to Pittsburgh.
He doesn't like French fries? Come on.
I don't think he knew about the French fries.
He might be kicking himself now.
Like, man, I'm going to have to go hang out with Paul.
They tell me this. Yeah, they made, it's the first time in draft history that a pair of teammates have gone back to back to open the draft.
And they were 2 of 12 Tigers to be drafted, including 2 by the Dodgers in the later rounds. And then the Tigers, we talked about him briefly. Max Clark, who is a Vanderbilt, is committed to Vanderbilt. So he says drafted number 3. So I'm pretty sure that they probably feel, and he's one of the high schoolers that were drafted, and I'm pretty sure they probably wouldn't have taken him that high if they believed he was actually going to go to Vandy. We'll see, but he got that. The Rangers picked up Wyatt Langford, the outfielder out of Florida, about where he was expected to go. I think he was like between 3 and 4, and then The Twins picked up an outfielder, another high schooler, Walter Jenkins, out of South Brunswick High School. And they're rounded out the top 5. Notables, beyond that, we had mentioned that the Angels were kind of in line and looking at Chase Dollander from Tennessee. He ends up going to the Rockies at number 9. So Nolan Shanuel from Florida Atlantic University, who is been listed as one of the better hitters in this draft, is picked up by the Angels in the draft, and he seemed to be pretty happy about that. The Angels have made it a deal since Perry Manassian has been there to kind of go more with college players, which is nice because we've talked about it before, college or the minors. Well, if you got a chance to go to college, you might want to do that because that's like being in the minors without long bus rides and poverty.
Yeah.
Or as Joe Kelly mentions in his book, the peanut butter and jelly days.
Mm-hmm.
If you were lucky.
Yeah.
The Angels, so that was their first round pick. They had nothing in the second. And for the most part, they stayed with college players. With their pick in the third round, they went with the third baseman, Alberto Rios, out of Stanford. So planning for a replacement for Anthony Rendon, hopefully. But quite a few pitchers, I think in their one round, what did they do between... Oh, in the 8th through the 10th, they just picked 3 pitchers, one of those being a high school pitcher. And then in the later rounds, they picked up another high schooler, shortstop, but a lot of pitchers overall, which really, when we start talking about the trade deadline, it makes a lot of sense that any team would go to get. That's quantity is probably a big thing because you don't know where the quality is going to come from as they're still learning to pitch at this age to get sharp into to the National League level or to a Major League Baseball level. Dodgers, as we mentioned with them, they did not get the number 26 pick where they would have normally been because they overspent. So they got dropped down to number 36. And they picked up a high school player, first round, Kendall George out of Texas, an outfielder. And the next one, they picked up a kid out of Virginia, third baseman, Jake Geloff. And a big one would have been their third round pick. A lot of people really high on this kid out of Granger High School in Tennessee, Brady Smith.
Yeah, pitcher. And they also went with a pitcher in their 4th round, Wyatt Crowell. Yeah, from Florida State.
So a lot of for them, also a lot of pitchers overall through the 20 rounds of the draft. They did, grab, like I said, a couple of LSU Tigers out of that. They picked, they had somebody that they picked up from junior college out of Arizona and Texas. And then they had more high school players that they picked up compared to like the Angels. As I was looking, I think the Phillies actually picked up the most high school players in their draft. The Demon Deacons, they put 10 of their players were drafted. And so, we don't know now, obviously, what is going to happen with these guys. Some of them are probably going to go on, especially some of these high school kids, especially the lower that they were picked up. They're probably going to go on to college if they had that opportunity, since there's not really any signing bonuses or anything like that for a lot of those guys. 8 two-way players were drafted over the weekend. That's the most. Compared to the last 4 drafts combined, there's not been that many. Bryce Eldridge was the first one to go. He went to the Giants. And everybody's trying to find the next Shohei.
Yep, they're all looking for it.
Yep. So at that point, and I think from everything I've read, a lot of people, the experts, are saying that the Giants really had maybe the best overall draft simply because they took home the highest ranked prospects. So they get that. But once again, does it matter? Who knows? Until these guys are out there, we're not going to really look at some of these guys that were picked at the bottom for some of these. Like I said, 10 Demon Deacons. Pierce Bennett, second baseman, was picked up in the 20th round by Philadelphia. We don't know. Will he ever make it? Maybe one day we'll see that. But those are the guys. The guys are going to be watching for Rhett Lauder, who we saw pitch for the Demon Deacons during the College World Series. He's the one that people are going to be watching for. People like that. We're going to see what Dylan Cruz and Paul Scanes and these top 10 picks are going to be doing. Those are the ones that are going to have it. So maybe a little less pressure on these guys on the bottom end, but who knows? Like we know, the most famous late draft round pick in the world is, and I know it's not baseball, but Tom Brady was picked way down in the NFL draft and has become the GOAT,
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and you just never know what can happen. What as they get in playing, and if they start playing like in the Arizona League, the Florida League, and then go from there. So
Mike Piazza, last pick of the year he was drafted, the very last pick. And he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. Mookie Betts wasn't picked till the 4th round. Look at where he's at. You don't have to be a first rounder to be great. You just got to have that desire to make it happen. All right, one last thing before we move on and kind of wrap up the Dodgers and Angels season and the first half of the 2023 season. Nick Castellanos was asked a question that was asked of many All-Stars, because they come in and they have these, they ask them serious questions and then they ask them just silly questions. Let's have fun with them. And one of the questions was who's your favorite superhero? And, a lot of them answered the standard: Superman, Batman, whoever,
Right. Yeah. Iron Man. Yeah.
Thor, before he couldn't pitch anymore and had to go find himself. They asked Nick Castellanos of the Phillies, All-Star outfielder from the Phillies, who's your favorite superhero? And he said, Scooby-Doo.
I think that's the best answer.
Well, and then when you hear his rationale for it, it's even better. Makes complete sense. They said, why is he a superhero? He goes, he's a dog and he talks.
And he solves mysteries.
Solves mysteries. He's going to be a very helpful. He's a dog and he talks.
That's it.
What more do you need?
Yeah.
Thanks for perspective, Nick Castellanos.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
The Dodgers went into the All-Star break with a 51-38 record, technically tied for first place. Thanks to a couple of percentage points, they look like they're in first place. Mm-hmm. But the way the schedules work, they have a 573 winning percentage. The Diamondbacks are at 571. There's really not a half game or a quarter game or a game. So they're really tied for first. And we'll see now. That's kind of cool because they're both starting at 0 as far as one another goes. Who will come out on top? Can the Diamondbacks continue to play like they've been playing? We're already seeing Corbin Carroll with his shoulder issue and that starting to fade a little bit. And remember, he's a rookie. He's never played a full major league season before. How will the rest of that team? They put a lot into that first half. We've seen teams fade in the second half because they overdid it. They took off too fast out of the gate. The Dodgers, on the other hand, we've seen go through this before. they finish up their last week of the season, or their last week of before the break at 5 wins out of 6, including the series sweep versus the Angels in the Freeway Series. And unlike last time, where they only scored 4 runs over 2 games, they scored 21 runs.
Yeah.
This next time, and kind of thumped the Angels. The Angels falling apart, and we'll talk about them. And not bad, but the question now is, what happens? What's the strong points for you you're the bigger Dodger fan? What's the strong points, whether it's from your fandom, whether it's just from what you see as a base, technically speaking, where do you think the Dodgers are, and where do you feel like the second half takes them?
I think they ended on a really good note before the break. With the series, they played well against the Pirates, played well against the Angels, and they offensively, they looked good. Their pitching, the bullpen, Alex Vesia seems to be, I've said this before, but he seems to have that fire back. So the bullpen looks like they're coming back to form. We did lose Daniel Hudson to the IL.
Did we really?
I don't know. I think it almost felt like they're like, okay, we're going to let you pitch and then we'll put you back on the IL because
wasn't it just like, it's like having one guy from, calling up a guy for a game from AAA and sending him right back down.
That's kind of what it was like. Yeah. I think he pitched twice. But the bullpen looked good. It felt like they were firing on all cylinders in that last week before the break. And they weren't just, there were home runs, Mookie Betts hitting his leadoff home runs, but they were also being patient at the plate, getting walks when they needed them, and getting hits, just, small ball, which Dave Roberts has talked about. One big thing I think needed to happen a long time ago, and that's Miguel Vargas was sent down to Oklahoma City, finally, because he has been just lost this, almost for the entire first half. Kind of started out okay, but he needs to, get it together. But that's the other thing. We've had a lot of rookies coming up and down from Oklahoma City, from the minors, even from Tulsa, with Emmett Sheehan. And I think that's kind of a good thing. So now they have that experience playing in major league games. So as they get further down and as we get further into the season, having those guys called up isn't going to be that big a deal because you know what you're going to get. Right. Where they can play.
What do you do with James Outman? Do you keep him, just let him keep going, or hope
He's
that
a tough
he
one
regains
because,
it?
Yeah, he had a really good game where he hit, 2 home runs, and then, then he comes back and he, the next game he doesn't hit anything. So, yeah, I don't know. How long do you allow him to kind of work things out before you maybe send him down to figure it out? I don't know that they will, though. I don't think that they will.
Probably not, because who comes in that place? Trace Thompson still out, right?
Yeah, he's on the 60-day IL at this point.
So now the question is, can these guys continue to sustain what they're doing? We've seen them do it in the past. I don't think you need to question, the core, Freddie, Mookie, Will, JD Martinez. All of them seem to be on it, and they're all veterans that can adjust and figure it out. I think right. Max Muncy, obviously, he's up in the top, 10, 15 in home runs, but he's batting, I think now he's almost back to 200.
Yeah, and he's another one. It's all or nothing. It's either home run or nothing, and he would get walks, but yeah, he's a question mark for me too.
So, and then what about shortstop? There's a lot of talk. Miguel Rojas had picked it up, especially towards the latter half of this first half of the season. A lot of questions when it comes to trade deadline. Obviously, we know pitchers are going to be number one for every team.
Yes.
There's not a team that's going to be in real contention in the come playoff time that or trying to get into those last spots that's not going to want to go out and try to get at least one quality starter or a couple of bullpen arms. But where do you think they go? Do they continue down this road with Miguel Rojas, or do they look to trade for a shortstop?
I think they might stick with Miguel Rojas. He's been defensively, he's been good. He has a good presence in the infield, seems to be more, with a leader in the infield, and he's been picking it up at the plate too. So I don't, there's a question for me for him is he does, it's like, well, he kind of tweaked his knee or he tweaked his neck. It doesn't mean he always goes on the IL, but I think they stick with him because they should have Chris Taylor come back after the All-Star break. He was on the IL because of his knee. I think they probably will, I guess if they could get a shortstop, I wouldn't see them put it past them to get a shortstop. But
Chris
I don't
Taylor
know
playing
who.
second base though, with Vargas going down.
Right. Yeah.
So,
but then you would but then you could move Mookie to short, and with, whatever they feel like it, because, Jason Hayward can play right. So if they wanted to give Rojas a day off, Mookie can play there. Yeah, I think that's the thing is Taylor probably is more slotted for second base because of Vargas going down.
Now, the big question for them, and still is a question, things that can be worked around, we just talked about, is Miguel Rojas a liability? No, doesn't seem like it. And they can work through that. The issue, and honestly, you still have arms that have been successful in the past in the bullpen. You just need them to be on it and limit the injuries as much as you can. Problem is, we now know, and we knew this last week, but we know that Dustin May's not coming back this season. We pretty much can figure out that Noah Syndergaard's probably not going to pitch again for the Dodgers unless there's no other way around it.
Right.
Unless he, had some sort of the pitching part of his brain has been rewired and he's back to normal. He's probably done. So what do you feel like the starting pitching has been questionable, and it coming out of the break, it's still going to be questionable. You can't count necessarily that Bobby Miller and Emmett Sheehan are going to be able to carry the load more than they have. We don't know where Clayton is exactly with his injury, and maybe it's just good that he's had this time off and he'll be set, but you never know when something will flare up.
Right.
And how long will that take him out? And we really don't know what's going on with Julio. Julio's really putting himself in a bad spot because he's a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah,
It looks like he's
not showcasing his talent. And then you have Tony Gonsolin, who could either have a really good game, but still only goes maybe 6 innings, maybe. And so that's a hit and miss. Yet Dodgers have to get pitching. I mean, I know across the board pitching is, that's the trade. But where are they going to be? They have to get it because their rotation, they're not going to be able to go deep into, they stay where they're at. They'll be in the playoffs, either, at the top or, as a wild card. And you've got to have pitching. That's you can have all the offense you want, but you got to have the pitching. So
you'd have to to go out there. If your pitching's not great, you're always going to have to be able to score more runs than your pitchers are going to give up.
Right.
And that's tough some nights,
Mm-hmm.
especially depending on who you're up against.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And the Dodgers, I think it's going to be, Dave Roberts has said that he was asked about, people, who are they looking at? Of course, he didn't say, but he said, yeah, we're kicking the tires. So, they're tossing names around, obviously, as every club is, putting things together. So we'll see. It's going to be, this is going to be really probably, I would think, I would be very surprised if this is not a very busy trade. August 1st is going to be really busy because that's when everything, it's like the deadline is at, 5:00 Eastern time or something like that.
Something like
and
that.
it comes up to, at 4:58, a trade was made. So
yeah, we'll see all those that'll come out after, because they all hit right there at the very last second. They finally made the deal.
yeah.
Yeah, I believe in Andrew Friedman making moves. I don't necessarily believe that they're going to help them win, because they haven't in the past. He got Manny Machado. Did they win anything? No.
Well,
he got, Trey Turner and Max Scherzer.
right.
No.
Well,
So-
and that's the other thing. I mentioned that Max Scherzer had the no trade clause, and he's willing to waive that. And so his name has been,
I've heard him come up too.
and all the comments from Dodger fans are absolutely not. He didn't do anything to help. So, I don't think it's going to be, I don't necessarily that they would get a big name.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But what if you look at him as somebody to get you through the season with no thought of him pitching in the postseason?
I mean, sure, but he hasn't been that great this season.
Part of that, I haven't looked at his numbers. So the question is, how much of that is the underachieving Mets?
True. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess that
Versus-
plays into it. Yeah.
So
And would he be willing, obviously, if he says he, is willing to forego that, would he be willing to go back to the Dodgers? I wouldn't mind. I don't think that the Padres would, I don't know if the Padres will be sellers, but, looking at like somebody like Blake Snell wouldn't be.
They would never trade him.
But I don't think
I don't think so.
Right. I know.
And honestly,
that's just
I don't
kind of
think
a
that their
pipe
ownership
dream.
works that way.
No.
I think their ownership wants all the best names they can possibly get. They don't care what it costs. And, they've got players that are signed through like 2034.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah.
That's Fernando Tatis Jr. They still want to sign Juan Soto next year.
Yeah.
After the
Yeah,
end of
no,
the
I
24
can't see
season,
that,
so-
but that's a name that you kind of pops up as somebody who's
Right.
having a good season. But
him,
then also Josh Hader, that too, and also where everyone's talking about, everybody wants Shohei. So looking at the contracts that the Padres have, would they be willing, because they went after him before. I think they were one of 7 teams along with the Dodgers. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I don't think that they would trade him. I don't think that the Padres would ever make a trade with the Dragons to the north.
Oh, and real quick, Dodgers aren't going to sign Scherzer, even if he's available. Not necessarily because he couldn't help, but it's not a rental. They're not going to get him for that. They're going to end up maybe taking themselves out of the Shohei sweepstakes by taking on the $130 million contract.
Yeah.
There's still 2 more years left on.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. We don't want that.
Money wise, they're not going to do that. And at this point, they need some stuff, some reinforcements, but they don't necessarily need that level of reinforcements. The Dodgers come out of the break playing the Mets and the aforementioned Max Scherzer. And then they go, they're there. They also have Baltimore, which that's a series that'll be interesting to see since Baltimore's got pitching issues, starting pitching issues. Their bullpen's pretty solid.
Yeah.
But they play every day like they have to win it. So that'll be an interesting series. They also have Texas and they'll have Toronto as well. So they've got the Mets, even as bad as they've been playing overall, you can't overlook them. They're not playing the Oakland A's or even the Nationals or teams like that. They are a team. Look what happened when they played the Royals. They overlooked the Royals. They can't overlook them. They still have a great talent on that team that can hurt you. They have an all-star team. It's just not playing well. So are they going to be a wild card or are they going to win the West? What's your prediction?
I think they might be the wild card. I think they might be or will be. Okay. And actually, I kind of want them to be the wild card so they kind of have their backs against the wall. They've never been in that position lately. So, I mean, obviously, if they win the division, no one's going to complain. Not going to complain about that. But, yeah, I think the Diamondbacks have been playing well. And, barring, and they have good starting pitching. They have Zach Gallen.
And Merrill Kelly's due to come off of the IL here soon, and if he can continue to pitch well, then
so if they just kind of continue what they've been doing, then I think at this point I'm going to say Dodgers will be a wild card.
I agree with you that the wild card would probably be better for them, but I think the Diamondbacks are going to fade. So I say Dodgers win the West.
All right. And we'll be able to continue to talk about it because we've got how many more games? 80 plus games to go?
Under 80.
Yeah, under 80.
Because we're already over 90.
That's right. So we will see. It'll be exciting. And I really think for the Dodgers, they're going to make trades, but are they going to be the trades that the fans want?
Who cares what the fans want? Are they going to be the trades that get them a World Series title?
Yeah, no, exactly. Are they going to be good ones? Is Andrew Friedman going to work his magic? Because it's kind of been tarnished, his crystal ball.
The Angels decided to lose 9 of their last 10 to fall a game under 500 as they went into the All-Star break. Also losing Mike Trout, and who's going to be out for a couple of months, give or take. And then Anthony Rendon, not sure. He's been out most of the season, but this time I got to give it to him. It wasn't a surprise kind of thing. Like, what do you mean I thought he hurt his hand and now he's having hip surgery. I don't get it. Well, he did foul the ball off of like his shin, upper area around his knee, and it looked pretty painful. And
he was on crutches, so we'll give him that.
You got to give him that. He's got that issue. Question is now though, a lot of people have already said the Angels are falling. They're one game under 500 in the American League. They're in fourth place in their own division, but they're only about 5 games out of the wild card, the last wild card slot. Does it mean they're out at this point? A lot of it will have to do what happens after they start the second part of the season. They come out of the break. They've got a tough one. They've got the Astros. Then they have the Yankees. And it doesn't even get really easier from there. They've got Pittsburgh in there, but then they've got to go play Toronto, and then they got to go play the best team in baseball, the Braves. That's not even talking about playing the Rays at some point down the road. So coming out of the gate, I think normally you're like, hey, I'd like to kind of have it easy coming out of the gate, ease back in, get everybody confident and going. But I think this is better because this will illuminate for Manassian. Artie's not going to see it because Artie's not going to want to do it, but they're going to be able to see we're not going to be able to compete even if we do get these people. And they're going to have to figure out how to do it, which I kind of feel like they have without Mike Trout, because Mike Trout's not been leading the way. It has been the Shohei Ohtani show. I mean, think about it. Shohei is only the second player in Major League history get to the All-Star break with 30-plus home runs and more than 5 triples, 32 and 6. Only Willie Mays has done that before. He is having a historic season. Now, obviously, the question is, can he sustain it? And he did that even with having a couple of slumps along the way.
Yeah.
You know, Mike Trout, when Mike Trout's hitting 280, 290, he's in there. He doesn't have to hit over 300. But Mike Trout's hitting like 260. The pitching staff is on and off. The Dodger pitchers, the pitching staff has had injury issues. The Angels starters have not really had that. They've just been bad. And to finish things out, 2 guys who've had really good outings recently, Griffin Canning and Reed Detmers, both had terrible outings versus the Dodgers. Patrick Sandoval, who was huge last year, not doing well this year. Jose Suarez, who was a starter, has been on the IL. Tyler Anderson, just the best I seen him pitch recently was the first part of his time. He came in relief for Reed Detmers versus the Dodgers. He looked okay for a little bit, and then he kind of fell apart there too. He ends up not being a very good signing. Who knew? But something's off with him. Now, my question is it the Angels and their pitching staff coaches, Matt Wise and all of those guys? Is there some kind of a problem there? But that's what's going to have to happen. They've had some decent pitchers pop up here. Davinsky out of the bullpen, obviously all-star Carlos Estevez. And we know about Shohei. I don't even really need to go. His pitching-wise, yeah, he's not a league best in everything. He's towards the top in strikeouts. His ERA is reasonable. If he gets sharper with that, he could do that. But he still leads the Angels in everything, pitching, batting, across the board. He leads Major League Baseball in a lot of categories, especially offense. But he's real close in a few of the pitching stats. So he's not going to carry us all the way through. Brandon Drury being out on the IL, that's hurt. He's actually been the guy more than Hunter Renfroe. And of course, we know that those 3 guys, and I've talked about them a lot, Drury, Renfroe, and of course, Urshela. Urshela's out. Drury will be back. Urshela won't be this season. But Drury's carried a lot of the load. Renfro's played pretty decently overall. He's had his problems. Shohei has been on fire, but all the other spots, nothing's going on. They brought Joe Adell up. We don't really know what he might do. Hopefully something. Taylor Ward, who was another one of those who had a great last year, is not having a great this year. Rengifo, not like last year. Fletcher, back up. But aside from the first couple of games, he's kind of back where he was. Still doing a good job on the field, but hitting, he's just not hitting.
Yeah. And in the Dodgers series, Joe Adell was out after, I think, his first at bat.
Oh, that's right.
And so I think it was an oblique strain.
Yeah, he hasn't earned an oblique song yet. So don't even try to set me up for that one. Yeah, he came out he had swung the bat, and then you could kind of see him kind of like he was trying to avoid like ow kind of, hitting that spot, but he did, and they knew something was out there. Yeah.
So, and maybe with the break, it's something that, it's minor. It's not something that's going to land him on the IL, because the Angels are going to need him at this point because Mike Trout's out, and, they been playing there. The other thing I wonder about the Angels is they don't have a designated first baseman. And so I wonder if that kind of hurts, because that's like a crucial position, and you have like Hunter Renfroe playing first, but he's not a first baseman.
Well, part of that is because of the fact that Rendon's out again.
Right.
Moustakas, who I forgot about.
Oh, yeah.
Not really he has his moments, but for the most part, he's a strikeout machine.
Yeah.
But he's been playing first, and he's definitely a better first baseman.
Yeah.
But they moved him over the third occasionally there to run Renfroe, so that way, they can keep him in the lineup. His bat's been better than many others. And you don't have Jared Walsh. Catching wise, Matt Dice has really come around. And to tell you honestly, Chad Wallach, who has, he's gone up and down in the past, but he comes through clutch sometimes, and he's been a good catcher. So there's pieces there. The problem is that when you thought at the beginning of the season, and once again, the Angels hit by a lot of injuries that are causing them problems. We don't know what Logan O'Hoppe would have been. Would he have been an all-star catcher? Maybe at the way that it was looking, but we don't know. And he may be back here in August. He's already swinging a bat and, starting all that, picking up, so what's going to happen with him? The other thing that, the questions, can Rendon, if he comes back, he's going to play. Can he get over whatever keeps stopping him from being a better solid player? If the Angels are able to come out of here and take the series from Houston, from the Yankees, if they can, have a good showing versus Atlanta, and that the series with Atlanta is right at the end of July. Will they feel comfortable enough with their chances to be buyers versus sellers? And even then, do they go out and try to get a better shortstop? Do they go out and try to get, what kind of pitching do they try to get? Do they have enough to get somebody that is a quality enough of a pitcher to? Can they get somebody like Blake Snell?
Yeah, Blake Snell, another guy that I forgot about, because we've heard rumors that he'd like an extension with the Cubs, but the Cubs have not entertained that, is Marcus Stroman, who hasn't
Right.
been bad this season.
All-star
and could
Marcus
be
Stroman at that.
right, and could be he would be a good rotation piece. Another guy, Jordan Montgomery of the Cardinals. Are the Cardinals where they're at? Are they going to be sellers? Would that be, would the Angels go in that direction? I've also heard when we talked about Max Scherzer, I don't think Justin Verlander is going to, I don't think the Mets are going to trade him.
No, but once again, you're not getting somebody that's on he's older and he's not a rental.
Right.
If you're getting somebody that is on a longer term deal that's younger, then that might be worth something. But I'm not going to trade away the farm and I'm also not going to pick up whatever the big contract for either of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they too, if they don't trade Shohei, then they're going to be missing out on a haul that they can get. And they've already missed out on it. Had they traded him last year, they probably could have got even more. The Angels can't just do like the Padres did for Juan Soto. You can't just get back in return a bunch of minor leaguers in that case. The Nationals didn't. The Nationals got a couple players they could put in play. You're going to have young talent that has upside, but the Angels can't trade Shohei without getting a couple of solid pieces back that can play right now. And then 4 or 5 minor leaguers that are high level prospects in the system, high ceiling guys. People are saying 4 or 5 players. I think it's like 6. It's a couple of major league ready, and maybe even established. And I'm not talking about superstars like, we're trading to the Mets. We're getting Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso and 5 minor leaguers or 4 minor leaguers, all in the, top tiers. We're getting, a couple of guys that can come in and be solid. And I'm not talking like Daniel Vogelbach. I'm talking,
Yeah.
but they have to be able to come in because they're not going to be able to replace him. But they have to have people that can come in and so that the team doesn't completely fall apart.
Yeah. Well,
and obviously if that happens, Mike Trout has to step up too. And Anthony Rendon. Everybody does.
Yeah. And I mean, and there's always talk of will Phil Nevin still be around? How long is he going to last as the manager? I think he's going to be there. I don't think they're going to do anything with him. And he'll just keep, trucking along with his pitching coach and doing what he's doing.
Well, I think they gotta consider that even if he stays, Matt Wise needs to go. They need to get somebody else. They need to do, one of those things where you finally look at it and go, we need somebody who really does know pitching. Mm-hmm. Or does know hitting.
Well, and would they do something like the Yankees, who just fired their hitting coach and got Sean Casey, who really, he could hit and
was a hitter.
And was a hitter, right? What is he? Isn't he like the mayor, they call him? But so somebody with experience and that
understands what it's like to have 100-mile-an-hour fastball coming at you, not somebody who played it on a video game or can look at it. Those guys are great. The analytics guys who are there, if you got a physics expert, all those things that can help you look at that stuff, that's fine. But they don't know what it takes to actually do that. Once you're in the box, all the things that go into it, the mechanics of it, any of us can do. I could teach you how to hit off of a tee and teach you how to watch the ball and swing through. I can throw short just throw things at you so you get the idea of the ball coming at you. But until you're getting a ball at 100 miles an hour, or even some of these guys that throw those hard sliders that get into the 90s, and then right when you think you've got it figured out, it breaks away or comes right at you. That's the other thing. Somebody lets loose of the ball in the wrong way. That guy who's your hitting coach, who's never been in a batter's box before in a real live game, doesn't know what it's like to get drilled.
Yeah.
Those are all things that go in. And if you're worried about that stuff, that's like John Kruk not wanting to get into the box against Randy Johnson because he knew if Randy hit him, it would hurt.
Right.
He didn't want to hurt. So that's the bottom line with the Angels is, are they going to trade Shohei or not? And everywhere they go, they're going to probably hear those same chants. Come to insert city here.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And everybody's going to be putting out their best foot forward to they don't want to tamper, but the fans, you can't control the fans.
Well, when the Angels and the Dodgers were playing in the Freeway Series at Dodger Stadium, Shohei hit a home run. I think it was a 2-run home run, and everyone was happy. Even the Dodger fans were excited.
Well, you get to see. I'll tell you, I've never been I think even when Barry Bonds was in Pittsburgh, I appreciate him. But once the whole steroid stuff came out and you could see the difference, and then he played for the Giants.
Yeah.
He was an outlaw, he was a bad guy. So with that, but I went to game 2 of the 2002 World Series, and I had where I was sitting out in left field, I had to look right down the left field line. And late in the game, they pitched to him because pretty much they were walking him, they pitched to him and he hit a home run that it didn't go out of Angel Stadium, which I'm surprised, but it was amazing. And I had to get up and applaud.
Yeah.
I high-fived the 2 Giants fans in front of me because that was incredible to see those kind of things, to see, especially the players that are at the top of the game, to go to that's why these people come out all over to see Shohei.
Oh yeah.
You can be a big Detroit Tiger fan. You're still going to cheer when Shohei does something.
I would like to see, and maybe this is something we can look into, is when the Angels come to town, what the attendance,
what's the bump on that?
Yeah.
Or is there? Yeah. Is there a difference? All right. So I feel like everything's going to happen in this first 2 series. That's probably going to push Minasian as to where he wants to go. Whether they're going to sell off, and I'm not sure what they'll sell off. Ohtani's really the organization changing trade. Artie's not going to let it happen as far as I can tell because he thinks there's too much money, to be made through all that. But once he walks away, Aldo gets a draft pick because they'll give him a qualifying offer. But what's it going to take? And we know that Shohei wants to win. Look at how he was when they won the World Baseball Classic.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex Cobb, who was a teammate, said, knowing Shohei, money is at the bottom of the list. He's going to take $500 million or whatever they give him, because everybody's going to be backing up the bring. Just, here, take my money. They're going to be throwing it at him, but he wants to win, and he's going to look and see what's the best places, what's my best chances for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll see. He could end up with the Asterisks because they got a good chance to win most years. I would be, what would surprise me? Maybe the Marlins, because they're getting better. Who knows? Him and Luis Ariz on the same team. All right. I meant to do this for the Dodgers. Did you have a player of the first half of the season? for the Dodgers, just off the top of your head?
Ooh, the first half of the season. I don't know. I feel like it's a kind of a broken record, but I'm going to go with Mookie.
Who else could you go with? Really, that's who the first thought in my head was, that Mookie. And then I said, my backup is Freddie. Mookie and Freddie, they're the tandem, but Mookie's definitely the guy I think I would give the first half of the season to. And with the Angels, the guy who leads Major League Baseball in WAR with a 6.5 WAR, home runs 32, triples 6, and a 302 batting average, 71 RBIs, 15 doubles, 103 hits, and leading the MLB in OPS with 1005 or 1050. Sorry, that'd be Shohei Ohtani. He's the only guy. There's nobody else.
Yeah. Who else could it be?
The rest of the team has all been DFA'd, but Shohei, it's now the Los Angeles Shoheis of Anaheim. As we mentioned earlier in the show, we will be off next week. So we're going to take our All-Star Game week edition heading into the break. Like I said, next week we're off just because there's no games really. This week we already talked about the All-Star Game, so we'll wait till everything gets up, and we'll have a better idea about the trade deadline, what's shaping up, because a lot of teams in this first couple of weeks, there's only 3 weeks or so till the trade deadline. First couple of weeks, we'll see maybe some separation of teams, or teams that'll say, you know what, we really need to do this. If we do this now, we're better for the future. This season, we just need to throw our hands up and wave the white flag. But we did have players of the week, so we're hopping in the bullpen cart for the last part of the first half, and talking about everything around baseball.
Yeah, our MLB has put out their players of the week, and the American League Player of the Week is a Seattle Mariner, Logan Gilbert. He was named Player of the Week for the first time. Before the All-Star break, they played the Giants and the Astros. He pitched a 7 strikeout shutout against the Giants, and then threw 7 innings of 3 hit, 1 run with 6 strikeouts to beat the Astros. And so he is the American League Player of the Week. National League Player of the Week, who's not in Seattle, Manny Machado, was named Player of the Week for the National League. He had a .478 batting average, a 1.044 slugging percentage, and a 1.599 OPS for the week. He had 4 home runs and 13 RBIs. He tied for the MLB lead in home runs and led all of MLB in RBIs. He ranked 3rd in batting average and slugging, and 2nd in OPS. This is his 8th Career Player of the Week award and his 4th National League Player of the Week. The last time he won was in August of last year.
Yeah, he had a good series versus the Mets. The Dregs and the Mets finished up the first half, which was interesting because they're the 2 highest payroll teams that are both underachieving. The Mets came in that series on a win streak, and the Dregs were just kind of plodding along. The Dregs were able to take a couple of them, and they're still 43 and 47. The Mets are still setting in at 4th, thanks to the fact that they play in the division with the Nationals at 42 and 48. So they still have similar records. Both went 6 and 4 off of their last 10. It's going to be interesting to see if either one of those teams can change things up and get through the really change their fortunes for the second half. It's not like that they're so far down that they can't find their way back. The Giants had been having some issues towards the end after a run that put them in the second place. Then they kind of fell back off again. They're still in third, but a lot of questions. The questions now for the second half, the Braves, I think, are in a good spot. They're the best team in baseball right now by like a game. Tampa Bay's right there, but that I think they're going to rule, obviously, the National League. Miami, that's a question mark. Can they maintain what they've been doing? Right now, Miami has the second best record in the National League, and then the Dodgers are third. So, with the National League, it's going to be, back and forth. We'll see how the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks do. In the East, Atlanta's got it, more or less wrapped up with I guess it's a little premature, but the Marlins are 8.5 back, and they're playing almost 600 ball right now, 53-39 at the break. Philly is not playing, bad. And then the Mets and the Nationals are under 500. The questions are going to be, who comes out of the Central, Cincinnati or Milwaukee. It doesn't look like Pittsburgh's going to recover from their fast start. So much for my way too early World Series pick. And then, like I said, Dodgers and Diamondbacks, what can happen? But the Padres have a team, just like the Mets do, that if they caught on fire, they could change the complexion of this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing with the All-Star break is how many times have we seen, the Braves are a good example. I mean, they're not in that position now, but where they've been in that position where they come back from the All-Star break and then they just tear it up and they beat, where it looked like they weren't going to make the playoffs, they're in the playoffs, and then they're in the World Series.
Right. And this is also a time frame. I mentioned it earlier. Corbin Carroll. He's and other rookies having great years. Other players having great years. Can it be sustained in the second half? Can these winning ways be sustained into the second half? When we look at the Braves, we just look at a team of all-stars. We look at the Rangers. They are a team of all-stars. Literally, they were, the 4 of the 5 starting positions on the infield were Rangers.
Yeah, and at one point when Nathan Eovaldi was pitching, it was 5.
Right.
The starting.
You had them. The Braves the same way. At one point, the whole infield was the Braves.
Yeah.
And that could have happened too. Neither of the Braves pitchers actually pitched in the All-Star game. They both had to bow out. So it's, these are teams that are putting it together. Can they keep it up? And all it might take is a slump that could really take them off and allow somebody else to come up and take them out of it. The American League, Tampa Bay, they're only 4 games ahead. Actually, 2 games, really. 2 games ahead of the of Baltimore because they dropped a few. Are they coming to earth? Will Shane McClanahan being out? What will these issues be? Speaking of Shane McClanahan, when they asked him about Shohei coming to the Rays, what's his pitch? We win a lot of games.
Yeah, that was it.
Can't fight that. And obviously the biggest thing we're going to be watching out of all of them, not only can these guys hold on, can the Rangers in Houston, who players from both the Rangers and the Asterix, when asked for their Ohtani, both guys said we play inside. Marcus Semien and right. Kyle Tucker, we play inside.
Play inside, and but Marcus Semien did say, he's done well at the grill, so at their park.
Put in, hey, you do great here.
Right.
Why not play here all the time?
Yeah.
It'll
And
be
he
the
also,
Central.
I think it was also, who was it? Kyle Tucker also mentioned no income tax.
No income tax and good food.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if they put French fries on everything, but they have good food.
Yeah.
That may just be a Pittsburgh thing. Anyway, Cleveland got to the break at 500, and they in Minnesota have just been hopping back and forth. I don't really see anybody else in the Central making a run. We never know, but this doesn't really feel like that's what's going to happen. And the only movement Oakland's going to be making is when they go to Vegas. Which brings me to my, I think, giant snub for the All-Star game.
All right.
I felt like Carlos Estevez was a snub, not being selected first, but he ends up there, and he deserved to be there.
Yeah.
But one guy who plays for a team that you don't think who would would only get a player because he doesn't have, they would just get the one player because they're not a very good team. And I think that they missed out and picked the wrong guy. And that's from the Oakland A's. Not that Brent Rooker had been, he hasn't had a great recent, but he had started off really good, is one of the better A's players. But the reason I bring this guy up is because Brent Rooker doesn't lead MLB in anything. Estuary Ruiz leads Major League Baseball in stolen bases with 43. How is he not an all-star? The stolen base leader is not an all-star.
Because he plays on the A's. I think that's the.
But if you're going to take
problem.
one guy from the A's,
Yeah,
take somebody who's actually leading the league in something.
Yeah, definitely. And
look what happened. Elias Diaz, only player from his team, and look what happened.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind. Anyway, so trade deadline coming up. Is that what, the 1st of August?
Yep.
Any movement? Who do you think? And you don't have to give me players necessarily. Who do you think the Dodgers pick up? Do they just pick up a pitcher or two? And what level of pitcher do they pick up?
I think they're definitely a pitcher, if not maybe two, but definitely at least one, but they need, probably need another. And I think it's going to be maybe middle, a decent, somebody who can pitch would be at least 7 innings, is, maybe 3, in a 3+ ERA, not more than that, but maybe 4, but is consistent. I don't think they're going to get, somebody, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head, the pitchers, they're not going to leave. It's not like they're going to get Zach Gallen, or yeah.
Well, maybe if the Diamondbacks weren't in it,
right?
But
it's possible. But so I think maybe a good. I don't even want to say middle of the road because that doesn't even sound good. But it's a consistent, where they're going at least 7 innings. That's what I'd like to see. Yeah. But I don't think it's not going to be some blockbuster.
Okay,
I would be very surprised,
but
but who it would even be. But, somebody that is.
If the Marlins were not in it, and honestly, this guy's not pitching well, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Marlins would have given up Sandy.
Yeah, once you mentioned the Marlins, it's like, oh yeah.
Alcantara, he's having a really down season
mm-hmm.
compared to what he's been in the past. I think I would take a chance on him and see, especially the Dodgers, who seem to work magic with their pitchers.
I mean, I
Might
don't
be
know.
worth it.
With the Dodgers, I've heard the White Sox where they're at. Are they going to be sellers? What would it take to, Lucas Giolito?
Dylan Cease, if you're going to go after
no,
it.
I know, but yeah, Dylan
Yeah,
Cease.
Giolito's probably easier because Cease is going to require a big haul. What do you think is, aside from Ohtani being traded, would be the biggest shocker of the trade deadline? Who could move that would completely surprise you that he was moved? I mean, and I mean, realistically moved, not like I can't believe the Braves traded Ronald Acuna Jr. That's we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, who is on drugs there? Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think just off the top of my head, I'm wondering about Juan Soto.
That's who I thought. As soon as I thought of that question, Juan Soto, and he's still got one more year of control. Imagine what the Padres could get back. Plus, that opens them up for the Ohtani chase.
Right.
Because otherwise they're not. I don't know. That's who I thought too.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm thinking about, you go through all the teams and just where, the Padres are at, his name, that'd be the one.
I would also be surprised if like Seattle gave up, any of their pitchers. Mm-hmm. Luis Castillo would be the one. I mean, he just signed with them, but last year after they traded for him. But since they're having, a bit of a down year too, I mean, they're at 500, but they can't really seem to stay much above 500. They're kind of like the Angels, but the Angels at one point were 9 games over.
Yeah. Yeah. They're
so
flip-flopping back and forth.
I would really be surprised to see, most of the teams, I think Boston could probably give up somebody. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded Kenley. Kenley's only on a 1-year deal to somebody really pushing for a closer. He's not coming back to the Dodgers though.
No.
Toronto, I think I'd be surprised if they ended up trading anybody away. Unless it was like, here, we just got this one guy, we can do this. This will help us be stronger here. But yeah, I don't really, I kind of think the Phillies might be making some moves too.
Yeah.
Who knows?
They're in a position to do it. Yeah. Right. Where they're setting, I think they're 12 games out right now. So,
I would say,
the thing about the All-Star game, because you have the All-Star game, and it's almost like it's strategic, the All-Star game, and then you have the trade deadline. And so a lot of teams are going to be looking how they're an All-Star. Well, how do they do first half, and how do they do in the All-Star game? So I wouldn't even be surprised if Elias Diaz could be traded somewhere.
Right. Depending on what they could get, you could get more for him now from that. I think if the Cubs probably will be unreasonable about Stroman.
Oh, yeah.
But he would be the one I see moving there. Maybe, another pitcher from there as well.
I've also heard Cody Bellinger's name here and there as
right.
He's
only on a 1-year deal as well. Mm-hmm. Problem is we don't know, like, if you traded for him and like brought him back to LA. Right. Would you get the Cody who's been hitting 300 in Chicago? Or would he fall back into that National League West? I was thinking the Padres have the same center fielder in Trent Grisham. Mm-hmm. He's an awesome center fielder.
Yeah.
He can't hit.
No.
And we know that Cody could hit, but he just stopped doing it. Now he's showing that it could be done again, but he's playing for a contract. Maybe we just sign Cody to 1-year contracts.
Right. Yeah, maybe that's the deal. He has to be working, constantly working for it. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be, I think it's really going to be interesting, more so than in previous years, where we know stuff's going to happen. Just when is it going to happen? Well, and who's going to go where?
Because everybody needs pitching, will nobody get pitching?
Yeah, see, that's a possibility. That's a real possibility.
It's going to cost too much.
Yeah. And who would be willing to do that? I don't know.
Who's going to pony up? All right, time to put the tarp back on the field. And as we mentioned earlier, no episode next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll pick up where we left off as far as what's been going on around baseball, Dodgers, Angels, and we'll also see what the buzz is from the experts out there on the trade deadline. Any of our ideas that pop up in our head, and could Juan Soto be traded? That would be interesting. That would definitely be a shocker. Not as shocking as Ohtani. Anyway, so like I said, we're not going to be here next week, but you can still find us. All of our episodes are on your favorite listening platform like Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Ask Alexa. She'll play it for you. And we got a bunch of them. So check that out. Also find us on our Twitter, Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
And on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
Caught you by surprise, didn't I?
Yep.
We got a website, siblingrivalrybb.com. And like I said, check in there for the Fanatics link. And then, the cool thing is at trade deadline, any of these guys who move to a different team, you'll be able to get their new jersey. Just click on our link. And so when you want to get your Ohtani Dodger jersey or your Ohtani Milwaukee Brewers jersey, whatever it is, it'll be available there. Plus, you still got the AllStar Game gear. And I didn't mention this during this. I'll bring it up right now. I didn't like the gray hats that they wore during the game, but I did like where they had the AllStar emblem stuff, that logo, on the side of their regular hats that they were wearing during the Homerun Derby.
I did too, because I like the colors. It was the team colors, but that was really cool. I like that a lot better.
Those may be available there as well, along with, your favorite new draft pick. Get your Nationals Dylan Cruz jersey once he signs, or Paul Scanes, or whoever. All right there on the Fanatics link. So we're going to see you 2 weeks from today. Go out and enjoy some baseball. Everything fires up again tomorrow, being Friday, for the second half of the season. This is when it gets good, and we separate the winners from the losers, the men from the boys, as they say. And we, like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks. I keep saying that, but I want you to know, and don't forget, you got a lot of options to listen to past episodes and get caught up on things, hear information you didn't know existed, or just stupid oblique songs. They're all there for you. And remember, we're still available for weddings and birthday parties. And whatever you do, don't forget to swing away.